All right, guys, here we go. I've been looking forward to this. The results are in for Snow. Weird. We have the opening weekend numbers for Disney's live-action Snow White, which, by the way, has a 2.1 rating out of 10 on IMDb. So, yeah, that's going well, isn't it? So, looking at the numbers here on Box Office Mojo, the opening domestic weekend for Snow White was $43 million. Wow. Now, that's less than recent estimates suggested it could be. So it's less than predicted. In recent days, I've discussed reports that estimated the film would open in the US to between $45 million and $55 million, which would have been bad enough. I mean, that wouldn't have been good enough. Turns out the film performed even worse than that. $43 million in the US. That's less than the Marvels did on its opening weekend domestically, and the Marvels earned $46 million in the US on its opening. Now, the international figure for Snow White is $44.3 million, so they're very similar. That's a combined total so far of $87.3 million worldwide. Now, of course, I've said this for other films. I'll say it again for this one. We may never know what the exact budget for this film is. We've seen reports ranging from $240 million to $270 million. I mean, there's usually a difference in Hollywood between the reported budget and the actual budget. But anyway, let's just go with the figures we have. Even with those figures, it's not looking great. Regardless, this opening weekend is extremely poor. This film probably needs well over $400 million to break even, in my view. Now, that's at a minimum, because marketing costs were probably over $100 million. And I would not be surprised if the actual production budget was a good deal higher than $240 to $270 million. Snow White is very likely a box office failure with these numbers, especially when you consider the opening weekend is always the biggest weekend in earnings for a movie. It's all downhill after that. Each subsequent weekend that follows the film will earn less and less money. The box office numbers will drop off, and I think that drop off could be huge weekend to weekend for this film, because word of mouth is probably not going to be too kind for this film. It's not being well received by critics and audiences. You know, and in most cases, it's not even getting sort of mixed to positive reviews. It's getting overwhelmingly disliked, right? It's mostly negative. So how this film breaks even, let alone makes a profit, is beyond me at this stage. I think it's one that Disney will be very happy to put behind them. I mean, it shouldn't have been made in the first place. But this film was likely one that was in the pipeline for a while. They'd greenlit some time ago, and it's a case of sunk cost. You know, they'd started, so they had to finish, kind of thing. But yeah, this looks very much like another financial flop for the House of Mouse. Now, keep in mind, films with budgets not far off Snow White also bombed at the box office, like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The Marvels, and Captain America: Brave New World. And all three of those films had bigger opening weekends. Now, comparing this film to another Disney film of the same genre, another kids movie, Dumbo from 2019, that film opened to a similar low weekend with just $45 million on its opening, and it ended up bringing in only $353 million, and it wasn't considered a financial success. Keep in mind, that film had a budget that was lower than Snow White. Dumbo cost $170 million to make. So let's put it all together. Dumbo was a box office failure. Snow White has just earned less money on its opening weekend than Dumbo did on its opening weekend, and Snow White has a larger budget. So it's logical to assume from that Snow White will also be a box office failure, likely because its budget was larger, it will be an even bigger box office failure than Dumbo. And I've also talked previously, as many people have at this point, Rachel Zegler's rather regrettable comments that she made when speaking to Extra TV at the D23 Expo back in 2022, quite a while ago now, where she said the cartoon came out in 1937 and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird, weird. So we didn't do that this time. Those comments didn't exactly do the film an awful lot of favors. And it would have been interesting if we lived in an alternate universe where she didn't say these things. Would this film have done a little bit better at the box office, perhaps? Maybe. But I still don't think it would have done very well, because by all accounts, this isn't a great film. Now, in the same event, she spoke to Variety alongside Gal Gadot, and Rachel Zegler said the following of her character, Snow White. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's going to be dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for young people everywhere to see themselves in. Just as an aside, I don't get this whole thing of people need to be seen in a film or represented in a movie. I watch films for escapism, right? I rewatched Mission Impossible Fallout last night, which is it's a really fun movie. And I watched it for escapism, for entertainment purposes. I don't see myself in the movie. I don't identify with Ethan Hunt. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, putting all that aside, Rachel Zegler, it's not her fault that the filmmakers decided to go in the direction with Snow White that they went with, with this sort of feminist kind of message. Changing the story, updating the story for basically, the modern take for a modern audience. With making it less about the love story and more about the girl bossing, That's not Rachel Zegler's fault. That's purely on Disney. But what Rachel Zegler said about the 1937 film, that's on her. And those remarks and how she communicated them, it just came across as sort of self-righteous, smug, not particularly likable, and unprofessional. And Disney really needs to sit down with its actors and actresses and coach them a little bit better and prepare them for these kinds of interviews. So there needs to be a little bit better PR training, I think. Who knows? Maybe that could have helped this film just a little bit. So guys, those are the figures for the opening weekend at the box office for Snow White. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.